guys, it's Anna, and in my last tutorial I showed you how to take a simple trace of an image and turn it into a layered cut file. So we took a simple trace of just this black Superman logo and turned it into two different versions of a layered file for Silhouette. So I told you I would do a follow-up video to show you what to do if your image has, maybe some issues. So I was able to find lots of black and white Superman logos, and I ended up using this one for my tutorial. This is ideal because the part I wanted to cut out, the trace I was doing, which was the part you see in red here, was all black. And that's ideal because the trace picks up on what's black and turns that into your shape. So I've got some other versions over here of the Superman logo that I also found online, and I wanted to show you kind of what to do if the trace you're doing is more like one of these. So first of all, I have this shape. I'm going to get these out of the way. And if you look at it, you'll notice it's the opposite of this one. So instead of being a black logo on a white background, it actually, the logo itself is white, and then the outline is black. It's a little strange. So you can work with this, but I want to show you how to do that. So if I trace this, and I'm just going to use the default trace settings, and then move this out of the way. If I were to fill this with red, it'll become a little more obvious what the problem is with this trace. I wanted a red S, and the S here is actually transparent. So that's kind of the opposite of what I wanted. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to fill this in with white, and then I'm going to release the compound path. So I'm going to right click and do release compound path. And what I want to do here, I think all I need to do is take this extra shape out here, the back that's in the background, extra outline. And then if I make these a compound path again, I get the shape that I wanted. So I really just needed to get rid of that extra piece that was in the background. So that fixed that issue. And the way I could tell, let me show you. The way I could tell that's going to fix the issue is what I want to have is my main outside shape, this kind of diamond shape. And then I want these pieces to be the holes inside the shape. These pieces that are white in this other version of the logo. And so here I have the diamond shape, and then these other little pieces I want to have as holes. And to make holes, we do a compound path. So I can see that once I turn this into a compound path, it's going to punch those holes out of the middle, and I'm going to get the shape that I wanted. So that's how you would deal with this shape where it's the opposite. It basically just has an extra line around the outside. So that's the first one. The next is this one. It's very similar to this, but it is on a black background. So let me show you what will happen. Because trace picks up on everything black, it's going to trace that whole background as well. And then when I fill it in, let's just fill it in black. So I've got the shape I want in the middle, but I have this extra black background. So what I'm going to do is release compound path. And can you see, there's my shape in the middle. I just need to get rid of this part on the outside. So I'm going to release compound path and just delete this rectangle on the outside. That should fix my issue. Let's see. Make compound path. Nope. It's the same as that other one. So I'm going to take this piece off. Make compound path. And now I've got the shape that I wanted. So on that one I had two pieces I needed to delete. I needed to delete this black part and this white, the line that's making this white piece around the outside. All right. And let's look at the last one. This is a common thing that people run into. This is a coloring book type image. So instead of having a solid black shape, you've got just thin lines that aren't filled in. So let's do a trace of that. Remember that a trace, and this one I can see may have some gaps here. So I'm going to turn the threshold up more so that all the black is filled in. If you think it looks too pixelated, remember you can turn the scale down to kind of smooth it out. And then trace. Remember that a trace looks at whatever's the darkest as the shape that you want to cut. So I've got these thin lines. I don't have a solid piece. Imagine this were cut out of black paper. It's little thin pieces of paper. So what I need to do, I'm going to turn this back white so that you'll be able to see. I'm going to release the compound path. And what you notice, I want you to notice that I'm going to compare it to one that's the kind I want. If I release the compound path on this, notice I have one diamond shape and then these holes cut out of the middle. Notice over here I've got double lines. So I've got, if I come in closer, instead of having one shape, I've got two shapes. Instead of having one hole here, I've got two holes, two pieces. So what I've got is double lines, and all I need to do to fix this is delete one set of the lines. So you're going to decide whether you want to delete the outer line or the inner line and just be consistent with that. If this is transparent, it's going to be very hard to tell which line you're clicking on and to zero in on the exact one that you wanted. So it's very helpful to have this filled. I am going to delete the inner set of lines. The reason I'm going to do that is I think it'll be a little bit easier to click on the middle piece. And notice, like if I change this color, there's the middle piece and there's the outside piece. It'd be a little easier for me to select the red piece because I can click anywhere in this big red area. If I want to select this blue piece, I'm going to have to click the little thin blue border there. So I'm going to delete all the inner pieces because they're easier to select. I can click anywhere in the middle of them. So I'm going to do each one that has two sets of lines and do the inner piece. So select, and I'm hitting delete on the keyboard, delete on the keyboard, delete on the keyboard, and then lastly my big piece. And now make, and I've got the shape that I wanted. So I hope that helped you. Ideal situation, when you're looking for an image to trace, you want to find the best case scenario image. The one that's a solid black of the shape that you want on a white background. That's going to be the easiest to trace. But if you can't, if you've got something like a coloring book image or a reverse image, it's something you can still deal with. You're going to have to do the trace and then do release compound path and delete some extra bits. And you notice on some of these, it took me a little bit of trial and error, this one for instance, to make the compound path and see, oh wait, that's still not exactly what I wanted, and then release it again. So you can do a little bit of trial and error. If you're nervous you're going to mess something up once you do your trace, just use Alt, click to drag a copy, or you can do copy paste, so that you've got a copy of the trace you just did without anything deleted. That way if you mess something up, you've still got a copy there. And then go ahead and do trial and error. Delete some pieces that you think are causing a problem and do right click, make compound path, and see if it does what you want it to do. And if not, go back and look again. So I hope this was helpful to you guys. Thanks.